So, Glyn,
Hello, David.
this is the Bobby Davro podcast, Glyn.
This is the Bobby Davro one.
The one with Bobby Davro. If this was an episode of Friends,
Yeah,
they would say the one with Bobby Davro, wouldn't it?
it would. Yeah, that's a good title for it. Maybe we should make that
Because it is the
title.
one with Bobby
It's
Davro,
true.
isn't it?
Yeah, it's just fact, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and we've just had that chat with him, which you're about to hear, and it was lovely. It was a really nice chat, wasn't it?
It was great. There's so many things we covered, and it was just nice to hear him talk about the business, about all the people he's met. And in fact, I remember when we met him at Mostly Comedy in person, we talked about so many other people as well. So there was so many stories I was thinking, oh, I'd like to hear that one again, or I'd like to him. But there was loads of other ones that he told. So it was great. It was a really fun time. What are we talking about?
Time of your life. You've had a fun time of your life.
That hour or whatever it was we just spent was
Just
great.
passed.
Yeah.
But and by the way, this is the More Than Mostly Comedy podcast, in case you don't know.
Yes.
So we might as well just go, because it's quite a long one, because we kept going in a good way, and we could have kept going longer as well.
Yeah, we could have done.
But let's let you listen to that right now. So here we have Bobby Davro. So we are here today, very excitingly, in a Zoom sense anyway, with the fantastic Bobby Davro. Hello, Bobby. How you doing?
Hello now. Just to check, I phone's working. It's perfectly, and so I think like this. So there you go. Mine's
That's
working.
good. Thank you very much. Good night.
You know what? It's so nice to see you. Now
good
I
to
look
see
a
you too.
bit stressed. It's got nothing to do with the show.
No.
I'm so looking forward to talking to everyone. Thank you for joining up. And we should have a good 45, 50 minutes, however long it'll take.
Yeah.
But I've just had the most stressful time. I did something dreadful today. My daughter is a vegetarian.
Right.
And a bit of an animal lover, as I am as well. But I've got a friend of mine called Charlie Claw, we call him, and he sells lobsters and crabs and fish food and stuff. And he came around, and I phoned around my friends and said, I'll have a couple of, I've got some lobsters to sell, because I've got nothing else to sell at the moment. And so I've left the lobsters out in a box.
Did they fall off the back of an aquarium or something?
Yeah, well, they're not an aquarium. No, I've got a couple of fish as it happens. We'll talk about fish in a minute. But I've got these lobsters to sell, and I've left them out in a box. And my daughter's come in and has gone hysterical because she's seen these lobsters flapping about, and so she's gone on a bit of a thing. So I've got her boyfriend to take them away now to a local restaurant. So
can I just check?
That goes my 20 quid profit.
What was the name of the guy you got it from? Was it Charlie Claw, did you say?
Charlie Claw.
He's a big deal, boy. We've got some nice lobsters for you. How many lobsters?
They smell bloody awful. He said, well, they're very fresh. I said, I don't smell so good. He said, well, we caught them this morning, and they walked up the beach there. They walked into the van, got them in the box, they walked in there, and I said, well, they must have stepped in something on the way there. So there you go. It's an old guy.
But I mean, if your name's Charlie Claw, you've got to go into the lobster selling business.
Charlie Claw. He's got crabs as well. But we don't
Has he? We have to say as well, Bobby, I mean, the people who are listening to this, when they listen back to it, won't be able to see this, but you've got a lovely house that we can see in view there. You've got baby grand piano.
My lines.
Yeah, it puts ours to shame, I tell you.
Look at that. And the piano behind you as well.
Oh, yes, the old piano.
The old,
You play pianos?
No, David does.
I do, yeah.
You good? We'll maybe get a tune out of it later.
Yeah.
I'm drinking just the Coca-Cola, of course.
Oh,
nice.
I don't touch the alcohol. Oops, I don't touch it.
So outside of
I'm a whiskey drinker. I love my whiskey like I love my women. 18 years old, single, mixed up with Coke. There you go. It's a gag a minute.
Aside from the lobster situation, Bobby,
Yes.
how are you dealing with the current whole COVID thing? Are you getting on all right? Or
honestly,
go on.
I'm in a bad place because obviously all my work has got cancelled. I mean, I haven't worked for so long, I'm beginning to speak Scouse. No disrespect to the Scousers, of course, but it's pretty bad. I opened up my diary yesterday and I got snow blinded. There's nothing, everything's been taken out, and it's a very scary time for entertainers. It'll be the same for you.
Yes.
It'll be the same for anyone that's a comedian, entertainer, or an actor or something. And it's really tough at the minute. So fingers crossed that it comes back. I hope so. If it don't come back, I'm gonna not only sell lobsters, I'm gonna have to sell the kids as well.
What sort of stuff had you got planned so far this year? I mean, I have seen sort of advertised some theatre stuff.
Yeah, unfortunately, it all got cancelled. I was going to do an Easter pantomime. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Of course, it was going to be Snow White and the Six Dwarfs because Sneezy wasn't allowed to take part. But we were going to do Wizard of Oz actually, and we're going to go out and up and down the country doing a pantomime at Easter now. I mean, But that unfortunately got cancelled the week that we were due to start the rehearsals. And then all my summer work got taken out, and then it doesn't look like we're going to be doing a pantomime at Christmas. So
No,
I'm going to have to go back to my old job, which made more money than I did out of show business. I used to collect goldfish farts for spirit levels. And yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm not in a particularly great place, which is a bit sad. But I mustn't complain. You always look on the bright side, as the song says. And I'm healthy, touch wood. We were very worried about the missus. We were a bit worried, and I took her to the doctor. She had a bit of a temperature, and they told me, the doctor said, I don't know whether it's coronavirus or Alzheimer's. I said, what do I do? He said, well, drive to the middle of the countryside, drop her off. If she makes it back home, don't let her in.
Win-win.
You've got to keep laughing about these things. But fingers crossed it comes back next year.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. And I mean, I think you come and go through it, don't you? Because I have moments where I think, I'm okay. But then other moments where it's just really, really hard to consider because it just keeps going. But then, like you say, we've got our health and so many people haven't got that. That's the other side of it.
And I want to say, thank you very much to the NHS. And I was out there clapping every Thursday. Have they stopped that now? Haven't they?
They have, Sort of, they had an official end, didn't they? But I think I've heard people doing it still, though. So I don't know.
I go out every Thursday, whether or not it's stopped or started. I don't actually clap. I've got like this big saucepan. I hit it with a big spoon. Oh, right. And it covers the noise of the empty bottles going in my dustbin.
Brilliant. So, I mean, we're quite lucky in the sense having you today, because I would define you as a household name.
So is Domestos, but you flush that down the toilet. I am a sort of household name, I guess. I've been around a long time, 40 years I've been doing it now.
Which is amazing. And I mean, it's extraordinary, and for people like us as well, because we're like, I'm 40 next year. To have someone who, as long, all right, thanks, Glyn. And to have someone who's always,
you don't look 40. You used to, but you don't look 40.
It's a
40 is the new 20. You know that, don't you?
Is it?
Well, we'll try saying that to speed cameras on the A3.
Yeah, I've got a big bulldog clip on the back of my head that sort of fixes it. But,
that was Cliff Richard.
Yeah, and I think his clips come off, if anything.
I think it has as well.
Yeah, but I mean, what would you say? How have you maintained your longevity? I mean, is it adapting? Is it? What do you think?
Listen, it is adapting, and this terrible climate at the moment with all this business going on. It's very easy to look back, and I've seen a lot of things that they're going to try and ban some of the shows that were on back in the 80s, like the 40 Towers and some of the stuff. You can't judge people by what we were doing 30, 40 years ago. You just can't. That's not fair. I think if you were doing that kind of material, I mean, I was horrified. Someone sent me a video to sign a DVD which I made in 1992, and if I'm honest, I was horrified because I couldn't believe some of the jokes I was doing. But then it seemed to be acceptable then, but now it's no longer acceptable. And if you're still doing that kind of stuff, you deserve all the criticism you deserve. Yeah. But you can't judge people on things that have gone in the past.
How did you start out? Were you doing impressions at school, or was it what did you always want to be a performer? Did you know you were going to be a performer? Do you think?
When I was about 10 years old, I said to my dad. My dad said, "Well, I think about 10, 12. I was at school. I was doing the impressions of the teachers. That's usually how you start. I did impersonate the teacher. In fact, we had a headmaster, Hindle. Dr. Hindle. Sounds like some dreadful scientist, doesn't it? Dr. Hindle. And he was a lovely, lovely man. And he spoke like Howard Wilson. And he used to speak back and I'll try it out. And he said, "Turn to page 460 of the physics books." And I started impersonating my friends. And then I started looking at characters on albums before on television. There was only 3 channels then. Channel 4 didn't even exist. And I looked at television programs, and I was doing the obvious ones, Frank Spencer's and the Norman Wisdom. And then I had an audition for when I was 16 for Opportunity Knocks. Do you remember Op Knocks?
Yeah.
Huey Green, folks, catching Huey Green. The poor man, he died of venereal disease. He got 100 on the clapometer. For those of you, that's the game. So for those of you who remember it, so I wrote a letter to one of my heroes at the time, was Mike Yarwood, because Mike Yarwood was the big mimic at the time. And a lovely man. He's a lovely, lovely man, and he was the king of impressions. I wrote him a letter and saying I'm going to appear, or I'm doing an audition for Opportunity Knocks. I never got on the show, but he wrote me a beautiful letter which I keep in my office, signed, and he said, "Well, good luck with everything." And what he said to me sticks, and has always stuck with me. He said, "Try and be as original as possible. Always try and do your own thing. Don't copy me." And a lot of people would copy Mike Yarwood, and I did when I started. And there's a lovely story about when he used to do Dave Allen. Do you remember Dave Allen?
Yes. Yeah.
Now, Mike Yarwood used to do Dave Allen and used to go, hello there, it's Dave Allen. Good night, God bless me, God do it. Now, Dave Allen's left thing, this looks like my right one, doesn't it, to you?
Yes.
It's not, I'm holding up my left one. It's inverted. And he couldn't bend this finger, this left one. So he used to bend the right one. And he used to go, good night, God bless me, God do it. You know, so he did Dave Allen. And he always knew, he said this to me, we became friends in later years. He said, I always knew when someone had impersonated my impression of Dave Allen and not gone to Dave Allen to look at, because they used the right finger and it wasn't the right one. Dave Allen's was his left finger. So.
It's like a copyright thing, isn't it? Using the wrong finger.
Well,
That's
it
my
was.
Yeah.
And I used to copy Mike Yarwood when I first started, but that was the greatest bit of advice from anyone that's up and coming doing mimicry at the time. I sort of went from that. I left school at 16, 17 with hardly any qualifications. And that didn't really matter because I was very lucky. I had a father who had a business. I went into his business and I worked in a department store for a little while. And then I started getting involved in an amateur variety group, and we did some work for the old folks and charities and for different things. And I got a bit of a taste for it. And then I was working for my father at the time, and I did my first professional gig at Chertsey Cricket Club. I think it was Chertsey Cricket Club. And I met a guy who was doing stag nights. Now, stags back then, stag and hen nights, you'd have strippers, you'd have compare, and you'd have two comics. And I got into there, I was as green as anything. Green as coming to fag. And I went along and used to die on my proverbial arse every night. Right. But I learned my apprenticeship there. I did about 8 months of working, and I went from earning £18.50 at Bentley's in Kingston to earning £400 a week. Back then,
wow.
I bought my first car, which was an orange Ford Capri, with the money that I'd made on the stag circuit. And then I realised, and it was all strippers and blue comics, and the people that I was working with were people at the time, like Michael Barrymore was on the circuit, Jim Davidson, Mike Reed, Harry Scott, quite a few, Charlie Smith. There's a lot of the comics that were of that era. They started there, and then they moved forward. Now, I stopped after about 8 months. I thought, this isn't for me. I want to go into more variety. Because I was very lucky. I could sort of, it wasn't only about doing dirty jokes, which was the thing then. It was about trying to develop my talent, which was mimicry and singing. And I wanted to be sort of an all-rounder. And I wanted to be it's not that I wanted to be a family entertainer. A lot of people think you're a family entertainer. And that was the slot they gave me. Yeah. But really, I was an adult performer. I've always been an adult performer. And the material sometimes that I was having to do was material that maybe I wouldn't choose to do in my live shows. But because I could do lots of different things, they could create a person. They could create a show around somebody like myself. So I was very, very lucky. And I had some great, great years. I mean, I left working for my father, and then I got my first bit of telly back in 1986. Right. And then I went on to shows like Copycats, and became one of the mimics on Copycats. And when all the other people were doing Frank Spencer impressions and Becky and Mr. Grimstone and all those old ones, I always tried to be ahead of them. I always tried to do people that were never being done. Yeah. And that's why I think they picked me out of the group and gave me my own shows down there at TVS. I would have liked to have stayed at London Weekend, but TVS gave me a better deal. So I went to TVS and I made about, I think 6 series, all in all, and about 6 specials over the years. And it was a great time. But then it's changed. It did change when Saturday Night Live came in. I think, Ben Elton's out there, all that, did that. And it was all these, and it was the wonderful the comedian, what's his name?
Hello, everybody, Pips. What's his name? It's
Harry Enfield.
Yeah.
Then you had Hayden Pace that came along, and they were risque. But when it changed, it became like alternative comedy, and variety had to move out of the way, and it had to move out of the way. My stuff started looking very flimsy, and the material was weak compared to what they were putting on Friday and Saturday Night Live. Couldn't compare it, and it had to go. It had to change.
But then there's extraordinary things like, and I think a good entertainer is always a good entertainer. It's like that. Have you seen the film of Bob Monkhouse's last gig that he did?
Yes. Monkhouse, Bob was one of my dear friends.
Right.
Bob taught me, if you had the humbleness, well, I've always wanted to learn, and Bob told me one of the most wonderful bits to help me. He said, Bobby, I was starting out, and he said, can I give you some advice? He says, can I give you some advice? I said, what is it, Bobby? He said, the economy of words within a joke. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, some people, if you meet people, I'm doing the voice, I can't remember how to do it now, but he told me that you mustn't use too many jokes, too many words within a joke. A joke is like a song, a rhythm of a song. And you meet lots of people in pubs and bars, and they come up and tell you a joke, and they go round the houses, when they could shorten the joke right down to about 4 lines. And it's the economy of words. And Bob was brilliant at that. He also used a system which I use, a mnemonic system of memory. It's an old Chinese thing. It's word association. A lot of mentalists, magicians, mentalists like Dan Brown and people like that, they have this ability to remember things. And I learned that system, which I use to this day. And it's a fantastic tool that I can have. So I'm an encyclopedia of jokes, not all my own, of course. I wouldn't claim to do that. Back in our day, when our circuit was very guilty of that, we all tended to be telling the same sort of jokes. It wasn't like, but it was, as Frank Carson used to say, in a way, tell them. And it's the way you tell a joke. So if I do impressions still to this day, if I do a new impression, I will take maybe a joke that I know, or an older joke that you guys you won't remember because you're too young, and they're very fresh now. The jokes still work, and so there's no harm in telling a joke maybe that I told 30 years ago and dress it up.
No. And I think that really shows that Bob Monkhouse gig, because you can see it's like the young comics of the day are watching it and they all love it because he's just good jokes, fantastically.
A lot of people ask me what it is to be a comedian. My dad said to me, I was about 12, I was beginning of this conversation. He said, what do you want to be when you grow up? I said, I want to be a comedian. And he said to me, well, Bob, if you can make just one person laugh, then you're shit. You've got to make a lot of people laugh. Now, I think that maybe was a Bob Monkhouse gag, or the gag that went with Bob Monkhouse, which he would be quite well known for, any comic will tell you this, is the fact that when I told my dad that I was going to be a comedian, everyone laughed. And then he went, well, not laughing now, are they?
Yes, that's the
spin on it. But I love jokes. And mimicry was the thing that sort of set me up for being, I guess, the name that I became. And I still try it and find it's not so much there's some great impressionists out there, some fantastic impressionists. Great people. You had Roy Bremlon here, terrific, Nick. He's very satirical. He wasn't my kind of material, but I could admire his mimicry. And there's some great ones around. Alison McGowan, Danny Poskill, he must be one of these ones, Danny, because he's a fantastic impressionist. And there's lots of guys that can do great impressions, and you see them on the internet. I look at them and I think, wow, that's a great impression, isn't it? But they don't have material, and yet material is very important. And the thing that makes a comedian, if I may say, you can have the best material in the game, you can have the best, funniest, cleverest jokes, but if you're not likable, the audience won't warm to you. You've got to be likable. And Bob Monkhouse, who's one of the most technically brilliant comedians I've ever met, ever worked with, I've ever seen, he had something which he was a bit too good. He came across a little bit smarmy, a little bit cold, a little bit clever. And so he didn't have the warmth that somebody like, let's say, Michael Barrymore had. He had that in bucket loads. He had compassion in his work. And people warmed to that. And there was a comedian around called Duncan Norvell. Do you remember Duncan Norvell?
I know the name,
Well, this is so many years ago, isn't it? And we were coming up at the same time. And he used to be the bloke that used to go chase me. Come on,
yes, of course,
And he was the first sort of camp comic to come out of the circuit, which was then the writing circuit, who had a warmth about him. He had a charisma. Not necessarily the greatest mimic in the game, not the greatest talent, but he had something that I didn't have. He had likability. I did have likability, but he had so much likability. And I think that's where Michael Barrymore, that was what made him into a star. Because I used to work with Michael, and he used to die on his ass as well. Most nights when I saw him. And all of a sudden, the audience got him, and they warmed to him.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is as well, like you get certain people like that, people like Barrymore, people like Bruce Forsyth, people like Les Dawson, who can be quite insulting, but they're so likable and lovable, and you want to be insulted by them. Whereas some people, that it just wouldn't really read well. So
some people can get away with it, and some people can't. Depends on. Les Dawson was he was a friend of mine. He's the most wonderful man. If he told me any advice, I always listened to the likes of him. And Frank, this is way before you talk, but you don't even know who Frankie Vaughan is. Do you remember Frankie Vaughan?
I do. I'm into that sort of stuff. So yeah.
Right. So Frankie Vaughan was a crooner. He could have been a very big star. He could have gone to America. He was a good-looking a Jewish man who sung "Give Me the Moonlight, Give Me the Girl." He had this stagecraft along with people like Max Bygraves and Bruce and Des O'Connor and of that ilk. And I worked with Frankie in my very early years, my first summer season, and he gave me one of the great bits of stagecraft. And this is something which I love to pass on, the tricks of the trade, which are still so relevant now. And some of the younger comedians, no disrespect to them, they're fantastic comedians, but they don't have the stagecraft because no one's taught them the stagecraft.
Yeah.
I make an exception when you look at Lee Evans. Now, his dad, Dave, who was a wonderful entertainer, I worked with him, and I worked with Copycats with him. He's a wonderful entertainer. Sadly passed away a couple of years ago. And he taught Lee stagecraft, and you can see it in Lee. He's one of the few comics that I get it frustrated when I see comedians come on and they seem to have like you've got to do this, you've got to go. They do their set, and however well it goes, they go, "My name's been Fred Bloggs, thank you and good night," and they walk off. It's like a stock standard finish.
Yeah.
I'm not that. I'm of a different era. And Frankie Vaughan taught me how to take a round of applause, or cool, it was called then. And it was a choreographed piece of stagecraft, which I use to this day. And it is it's a trick. It's stagecraft.
Yeah.
Like Ken Dodd had. All these famous people who learned like the clowns of the era. And I'll come on to the clowns in a second. But Frankie Vaughan said, "This is how you take applause. You finish I always finish our song. And if they like you, he said, what you do, you hold your hands open like this in humbleness, right, and take 3 steps backwards. 1, 2, 3. Now, if the audience like you, because you're moving away from this is great bit of information for you guys. If they like you, when you move away from the microphone, they think you're going to finish, okay? And they don't want you to finish if they like you, so they'll applaud. Oh, fantastic. Right? So please don't finish, right? So you take 3 steps back. Then you look to the side, open your hands up and go, and then you take 2 steps forward, right? Because you move 2 steps forward to the mic, they think you're going to do something more. Yeah. Well, you're going to do a little bit more, but you don't. Then you move 3 steps forward. And so then the applause goes down as you move forward, and the applause goes up as you move backwards. And it's 3, 2, forward, 3 back, 2 forward. Yeah. 3 back, 2 forward. And you can milk an audience and do all the things that they want me out here, shut me the keys, I'll lock up. You give them this. You give this. I can't do it. I've got to go. Look at your watch, and then you leave, and then you come back on. And it's a piece of stagecraft which I wish youngsters. When I speak to people, I'm telling you now this. I don't know if you're aware of that. And if you ever get a chance to work that piece of stagecraft, it's so valuable. It's so valuable, and the guys of my era that I came through, the Les Dawsons and the Bruces and all, they all had it. Norman Wisdom had it. And I tell you what he had as well. He had pathos. All great comics, in my book, have incredible pathos. Yeah. And if you can play pathos and do it sincerely, Norman Wisdom was one of the greats. And Robin Williams had it. Remember Robin Williams? He's the love fantastic. He was a great comedian, but he was also had that pathos. He could make you cry. Charlie Chaplin came back before him. They can make you cry. Buster Keaton, who's one of my heroes. They can make you cry as well as make you laugh. And that is a very valuable thing to have. If you can sell that and make it sincere, the audience will pick up on that and love you more for it.
There was a thing when I went to see Brucey do a one-man show a couple of years before he died. And he ended with a song just about him singing to the piano, and it was like the piano was like a partner or something and helping him through the show, and it was just the most moving thing ever. And he did another song as well where he was singing about all his friends that he lost, and they had like pictures of him with Nat King Cole and all these extraordinary people, and it was just this is the thing. I suppose the difference is now people used to learn on the job. People used to learn at theatres and in front of audiences. These days a lot of comics, they start like on telly and then they do theatres, and they don't necessarily know the sort of, like you say, the stagecraft, the sort of theatricality.
It's so valid. I mean, and I've never stopped learning. If I don't know how to do something, like play the mouth organ, I've with my mouth organ. I got this mouth organ. I met this guy, Elio Pace. We do a big charity show.
I know him. He's an amazing muso, isn't he, Elio Pace? I know him. Yeah. Yeah,
and he does this great Billy Joel tribute show. So I bumped into him. I didn't know who he was. I bumped into him in my local village, and he came out and said, "Bobby Davro, hello, pleased to meet you. I'm Elio Pace." I said, "Oh, well, what do you do?" He said, "I'm a singer, artist, and I do a Billy Joel songbook thing." I said, "Oh, great." And as it happened, I needed a musical act, one other musical act for my charity show. I said, "Would you come down to Woking and do this show with me? I've got some great names on there. I can't remember the year that he was on. We had people like, I think Shakin' Stevens was on. I pull all the favours and get all the people I know. and people like Des O'Connor's done it. And I get the modern comics too. So Lee Mack's done it for me. Tim Vine's done it. Last year we had Milton Jones came and did it very kindly for me. And he was the lovely German guy, I think.
Was it Henning? Henning Van?
Henning.
Oh, yeah.
And so I asked the younger comics to come along, and I also asked some of the traditional ones.
Yeah.
And the combination of the two things, as long as you get the balance right.
Yeah.
And so I've met Elliot Pace, and I said, yeah, come on the show on one condition. He said, what's that? I said, I've always wanted to play the mouth organ. I do Billy Joel, but I've always wanted to do this. I've always wanted to play the mouth organ bit to Piano Man.
Yeah. Right.
And I said, you can come on in, but can I sing that with you? Can I play the mouth organ and sing it? Yes. So then I go back, and I said, what key do you do? And he said, C. Get a C, mouth organ.
Yeah.
Right. So this is it. So I've got 3 weeks away from the show. So I booked him in the brochure and everything. And I start to learn. I've never picked up a mouth organ in my life. Right. So he said, it's in C, and you just find the notes. I said, I'll practice. So every day for an hour, I'm there trying to find the notes. Yeah. Right. So I'm going, no, that's not. That's it. Yeah. Yeah. And as it turned out, it's only one note. I'm going up and down the scales. Listen to my music, so it allows me to do. So it took me like 3 weeks, and we get to the show, and I go out there and we do Piano Man, and my kids who were living with me at the time, it was driving them up the wall. You know, I'm going, trying to learn this big music, and all they were going, shut up, we're going round here, shut up. So on the night we go out there, and I absolutely pin it, and I do it in the show now, like my night shows. And my daughter came in the interval. We did close the first half with Elio and we singing, and she was crying, my middle daughter. And I said, "Who's upset you?" I said, "Oh, smash it." He said, "No, Daddy." She said, "I've had to listen to that shit for 3 weeks." Right, you pinned it. She said, "I'm crying because I'm so proud of you." And do you know what? That's the reward.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll play it. There you go.
Lovely.
Never leaves you.
Yeah, very good.
And funnily enough, I believe, because we were talking about Billy Joel before when you came to Hitchin, and I think you were at the same gig as me in London that he did. Did you go to Wembley?
I went to Wembley.
Yeah, to see Billy Joel, and he was amazing. I thought it was just a brilliant, and again, a brilliant showman. He knew how to sort of make the audience laugh. He knew, he got them to choose what song they wanted out of a known one and unknown one. Someone's out of shot. Who's?
It's my daughter. The daughter I've just been talking about. Hang on, she's outside smoking a cigarette. Hang on, I won't say that. Come out if you want to come and say hello. Come in. So I'm on a Zoom thing. Oh yeah, she's out smoking a dreadful. She's very, very lucky. I had 3 gorgeous daughters. We did have 4, but we hung one as an example. So, you can learn, and I'll tell you something. It was another piece of stagecraft which was wonderful. I did pantomimes. Have you ever done a pantomime, Dave?
Yes,
both of us have. Yeah, Glyn more so than me.
What characters?
Well, I've done Buttons. I was a Tin Man. Tin Man, the Wizard of Oz. Yes. I did a few sort of things like what was I? I was in Puss in Boots, and I can't remember what character I was in that. I was a character in that. The Boots. The Boots. I don't know.
Who's the Boots?
Puss, I don't know. Yeah. But yes, yeah. No, I love panto. My wife, until we had children, she was doing panto in a different part of the country every year. So
just to get away from
absolutely
you,
love
really.
Just to get away from. I think mainly for that, yeah. But no, I love it. Love a panto, and I have to say, you're up there with the sort of the greats of panto as far as I'm concerned. In terms of you're talking about variety. What I find now is the best place you can go and see people like yourself is in panto. There's not many.
It is an art form, and people don't realise that. There's different ways of selling jokes in a pantomime. You'll never get if you do stand up.
Absolutely,
it's the repeating of certain words. They say rule of 3. You've probably heard that.
Yeah.
And in a pantomime, the most important thing is to as a comic, because I played lead comic. I haven't done Dame, or I haven't done Ugly Sisters or anything like that. I don't know if because you work together all the time. You guys should be looking at maybe getting in a company looked at Ugly Sisters.
We're certainly ugly enough.
Yeah, we could definitely do that.
More than ugly enough.
And I could help you with that, because I've been doing it for 40 years. I don't know everything, and I was going to come on to this. There's a guy that we work with. I haven't worked with him for a few years, called Charlie Caroli. He's a clown, And he, this is wonderful story. I hope I've got time to say this.
Yeah,
so
yes.
We used to do this big scene. It's called the slosh scene. It's a traditional thing in the pantomime. And it's a long table. He's on one end, I'm on the other, right? And his wife did the serving of the custard, you know, the cream custard, the slosh thing.
Yeah.
And it was a recipe that he guarded with his life. He used to be downstairs about an hour before the show started with great big industrial whippy things, you know, like mixing things. He used to get, because the slosh, it couldn't be too runny, right? And it couldn't be too fluffy. It had to be just right. So every night we did this routine, and I had to fall off the chair, right? So I'm up one end, I fell off the chair, and I got an all right laugh, okay? He would fall off after me, and everyone would laugh. Yeah. So 10 days, I'm looking at this now. I'm looking at this, and I'm thinking, and he could see me trying to work it out. And I tried to make it bigger. Whoa, he went fall off, like feet in the air. Still got half a laugh, and then he got the whole laugh, and I couldn't figure that out. And then he said, "You haven't asked me yet, have you?" I said, "No, Charlie. Tell me what I'm doing wrong." He said, "No." He said, "We're missing something very important." I said, will you tell me? He said, "Now you've asked me, I'll tell you a piece of stagecraft and a piece of, it's pretty easy when you actually analyse it. When you fall over tonight, don't look at, don't try and be funny, look at the audience." I went, "All right, I will." And then you tell me what happens. Then when I fall over, you look at me and then look at the audience. Okay, so it comes to the bit, and I fall over the chair and I look at the audience, and only half the people are looking at me. Right. So I only get half the laugh, right? Charlie, before he falls over, smacks the table with his hand, did it every night, bang, like that. Then he fell over, because smacking the table, it's called pulling focus. Everyone in the audience goes, like that. Yeah. They're looking at, everyone sees him fall over.
Absolutely.
So he gets the bigger laugh. It's so simple.
Yeah.
And that's why comedians in the old days used to do this. They used to go, "Here's a funny story, ladies and gentlemen. Here's a great story." And that's what they used to do. Clapping your hands pulls a focus so everyone can see it. It's simple.
Yeah. And also, I think panto is so vital, because I know, like, for me personally, the first theatre I went to was a pantomime, and that is the reason why we're sat here today. If I hadn't seen that panto and been sort of captured by it, and specifically the dame, funny enough, Paul Laidlaw, I don't know if you know of Paul Laidlaw, who does... Paul Laidlaw, he's a dame, and he's quite well known as a dame, but he was just wonderful, and it just... Yeah, it was the comedy, it was the everything about it. I wanted to be an actor, I wanted to be a performer, and if I hadn't seen that panto Aladdin in, like, you know, the Gordon Craig and Stevenage with Flamella Benjamin and him, I would not have done this. And so for many people who never go to the theatre, that's the one time they get the chance to, kids.
Yeah, and it's an introduction to children as well. Youngsters, it's the first time to see. And now that it's so extravagant now. The costumes are amazing, the lighting now, and the sound and everything. It can be truly magical. But sometimes, you know what, the most simplest, I did a pantomime at Easter, which I still, the Wizard of Oz. And to be truthful with it, it was cheap and cheerful. Yeah. But you know what? It had a certain charm about it. And I played the Scarecrow. You mentioned you did the Tin Man. Yeah. I played the Scarecrow. And I said, "How am I going to play this Scarecrow?" Because I was the lead comic in the thing. And I had most of the, I mean, I wrote most of the pantomime. I introduced my own routines, which, again, it's something that you try and bring into to a pantomime. Try and get your own stuff. Yeah. Not be just do the same as everyone else. Always try and be different. And I'll come on to that and trying to find a way of doing sort of impression. Anyway, so I revisited my Wurzel Gummidge impression. You remember Wurzel?
Yeah.
Now, that was one of my favourite impressions back in the late 80s. If you ever see Wurzel Gummidge, everyone thinks, "Oh, good old Wurzel." He wasn't a very nice character. He was a thief. He was horrible to the kids, you know. But he loved his
head off as well, I believe. Did he take his head off? Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah, no, he used to have different heads.
It's quite sinister. I remember him being quite scary.
He was horrible. He used to go,
"Go shut up, you Petsky kid." Yeah. And the voice was like, I couldn't see his last.
Yeah.
I'll be mum sitting if it any young fella.
And I took that voice. I hadn't done it for like about 20 years, but I took that character. And now whenever I do the Wizard of Oz, I always do Wurzel Gummidge. And I always remember good old John Pertwee. He was about 6'8" or something. He was a very tall fella. Yeah, and he was a fantastic actor, and it's nice to revisit some of the old things that you do and then dress them up. Yeah. Someone sent me something wonderful. I don't know if I did it when I worked with you at the Hitchin. Someone sent me a picture of one of my shows that I did back in the late 80s, and I was sitting in a chair, in like an office chair, And I thought, and the picture was to be signed. I was going to sign it and send it back to him. I looked at the chair, and I'm sitting in this black office chair with some glasses on my lap, and I couldn't remember what I was doing. Then I remembered what it was. And it was a routine, and this is what I'm going to come on to say, find something different and how to present impressions. It's all good, you can do great impressions, but you've got to present them in a slightly different way. So I remembered the routine, and I only did it for a couple of minutes. It was one of those warm-up routines before the sketches started in the show.
Yeah.
And it was me as Michael Parkinson, sitting there, Michael Parkinson, and I guess tonight is Michael Caine. And I spun around in the chair, and I put the glasses on. I've got my reading glasses. Said, hello, my name's Michael Caine, blah, blah, blah. Thank you very much, Michael Caine. Then I spun around again. It's David Nurbridge and different pair of hello, now, blah, blah, blah. And then the more I spun around like this, round and round and round, and the tag of the routine was me standing up and falling over because I was dizzy.
Right. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I thought about that. I thought, God, that's bloody brilliant. I'll make that all modern. So I'll do the modern people sitting in chairs like Graham Norton. Let me get started. And then you spin round, and then you're somebody else, modern impression. Yeah, do Jonathan Ross or something like that, because they sit in a chair interviewing people, and you turn around. And I thought to myself, this is going to take a lot of. Who else sits in a chair? And I thought, and so I get it. No. Now this is where comedy is dangerous. I decided to do Stephen Hawking. Right, it sounds good, doesn't it? And I did the look, and I don't want anyone to be offended by this, but I did the look, right, in a chair, right, and the impression I did in Singing the Beach Boys. I get around, and the chair would spin round and everything, and it was one of the best bits of comedy that I'd done for a very long time because it was original. No one was doing a routine. Any of you ever seen do a routine in a spinning chair? Only me, I think. But anyway, of course, I couldn't use it because it was so un-PC.
Yeah. But the irony is, though...
Oh, you mustn't ridicule somebody who's got a disability like that. And it sat with me. I thought it was a wonderful piece of comedy, but it didn't sit with me well. And there's a secret to telling jokes, and you guys must know this because you've been doing it long enough. If you have any reservation about any joke and you think you shouldn't really be telling it, if you think like that, or you undersell it, if it's a rude joke or it's got rude words in it or it's a rude joke, don't ever take your foot off and do it the way that it should be done. Don't try and lighten it. Or don't try to damp it down. Do the gag, because if you think it's wrong and you know it's wrong or whatever, you shouldn't do it. Simple as that.
Yeah. The funny thing is, like with Stephen Hawking, he had a great sense of humour. He was massively into The Simpsons.
He would have loved it.
So yeah, he was sending himself up.
Coming back to the idea, it's very easy to offend somebody, and he would have loved it. It's the idea of the comedy which is great. And Ricky Gervais said one of the best lines. He said, "I'd like £1 for everyone that I've offended with my comedy." And then he was, "Hang on," he said, "I've got £1."
Yeah.
He don't care, and he does it, and I like that attitude. He can afford to do it. I can't afford to do that.
But talking of impressions, I think in many ways your Cliff is more Cliff than Cliff. We're talking about things that are iconic in my mind when I was growing up. You doing Cliff Richard?
Yeah. Well, Cliff's a friend of mine, and the sad thing is, a few years ago I did a pantomime in Northampton, and I got the flu, and I got a hemorrhage in my vocal cord, and it scarred my vocal cords. It's like a nodule. It's not actually a nodule, just a little bit of scarring. And I struggle now to sing. I did certain singing impressions. So that's what I actually am. I'm a singing impressionist, believe it or not. And I do loads of singing impressions, and the comedy material goes around the songs. And that one has been damaged, so I struggle a little bit to do. I can still do it, but like songs, I had to know the tone, and I cheat, so I can't go from middle to top voice. Right. It's a very difficult thing. And Neil Sedaka was one that I used to be able to do really well, and that sits on that little bump.
Right. Yeah.
But Neil Sedaka speaks like that. Hello, how are you? It's Neil Sedaka here. I loved it, all those, and they were different impressions, weren't they?
Yeah.
I met Neil Sedaka. Funny enough, I was in the show Dreamboats and Petticoats in London, and the night I went on was when Tony Christie was leaving the show, and I went in a day early because somebody pulled out, they were stuck. And Neil Sedaka was in the audience, and I hadn't yet learnt all the songs because I was going on a day early. So I fucked up the bass part to Happy Birthday Sweet 16 in front of the guy that wrote it.
Will I tell you a wonderful story? Yes. I did a show called Rock with Laughter at the BBC. It was one of the last variety shows that they did under Bill Moyer. And it was the last variety show, and the guy came in and they took over from the BBC. I can't remember his name now. Anyway, he was a bit of he was like a he was quite highbrow, and he wanted to get rid of anything that was sort of variety, and they buried the show. But we had guests on, and Neil Sedaka came on, and Neil Sedaka was in this studio setting up camera shots, and he was playing on the white piano just like mine.
Right.
And he's there, and I went in and introduced myself. I said, "Hello, Mr. Sedaka." I said, "I'm Bobby Davro. I'm the host of the show." "Hello," and he didn't look up, "Hello," and he's playing like this, tinkling away. I said, "Would you do me while we've got 5 minutes? Would you just do a few bars of my favourite song, Rosemary Blue? It's off the Emergence album, right?" And he went, "Oh, you know that one?" I said, "Yes." So he starts playing. I start joining in. Went, "Oh my God, you sound like me." I said, "Well, I'm an impressionist. I do impressions. I do you, and I love your music, and I've got your albums." "Oh, lovely." So we do the show, and then on the Wednesday after it finished, we recorded it on the Saturday. On the Wednesday, I said, "Are you in London?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Would you like me to, for coming on the show, would you like me to take you to dinner? We'll go to Mr. Chow's, Kensington." So I took him to Mr. Chow's, and I was going out. So he was back in scene. I took her along, and it was the three of us, and he sat at the back there, overlooking. He was a lovely, lovely man. And then afterwards, I said, "Where are you staying?" He said, "I'm staying at the Savoy." And so I said, "Oh, I'll drop you off there then." So he said, "Would you like to come in and play some tunes?" "Oh, tunes?" And I said to Zoe, "Yeah, I'd love to do that." So we went up to his suite, and he had an upright piano. He was just practicing for his concerts in London. And we sat there for an hour and a half, and we sung all of his hits. Sang this, "The Hungry Years," and "Solitaires." It was magical, absolutely magical. Crazy. That was one of the greatest nights I've ever had.
I bet. Funny enough, that reminds me of a Bruce Forsyth story when he was doing one of the Saturday Night London Palladium, and I think Nat King Cole was a guest on the show, and Brucey went in earlier, and Nat King Cole just played his new album to him, basically sat at the piano. I mean, imagine that. It's incredible.
I heard I've become my best friend in life, I guess, apart from Richard, who came around today and took a couple of the lobsters. And in 1971, I was coming out of school. My dad picked me up. I was 14, something like that. And the radio came on, Radio 1 at the time, and a song came on called "Nothing Rhymed." And I fell in love with the song, and I fell in love with the singer and songwriter, a guy called Gilbert O'Sullivan. You probably don't remember this.
No, dear.
And something spiritual happened to me. I felt a bond with him, and I always knew that something would happen. And about 20 years later, it was 22 years later, I actually met him through the business, and we became the dearest and closest of friends. And his daughters were my bridesmaids when I got married. Right. I've got to go and visit the ex-wife's grave tomorrow. She's not dead. She thinks I'm digging a fish pond. So I've got to stick a gag in. Anyway, so he was my hero, and he's still my hero. And we have become the closest of friends. We're like family together. And I think that the universe works in that way. I think that if you really, truly want something, and if you really want it that bad, it will come to you. And all the things that I've wanted in my life, I've been very, very lucky and fortunate to have them. I've had grief as well. Everybody has bumps along the way. But if you have a goal, and I think if you ever want to hear somebody that will give you, what's the word for it, inspiration, is to watch Arnold Schwarzenegger. He does an inspirational talk. He's about having a goal. You've got to have a goal. And if you guys, I spoke to you when I came and worked with you guys. I've been around for hundreds of years, and my comedy is completely different to yours. And it's easy to say, well, he's an old fart. And of course, I am an old fart, really. And it's your turn now to go and do it. But if you really believe in what you want to do and you have a goal, and you want it, you have to work very, very hard. And I remember when I was 20 years old, I went down to Eastbourne, to the Congress Theatre, and there was a variety show on. And Roy Walker, do you remember Roy Walker?
Yes. Yeah.
Catchphrase.
Catchphrase, yeah.
Catchphrase and say what you see. And it's Mr. Chips.
That was amazing. And they aired it as well, which is what's so... they aired that episode,
Yeah. So I went backstage afterwards, and I met him, and I said, "How do you get an act like that?" And he just came out and did 20 minutes stand-up. And he said this to me, he said, "It's just do an hour a day, Bob. It's just an hour a day. An hour a day." And you know what? I still do an hour a day. Right. Even to this day.
Wow. And that's 20,
41 years ago.
Yeah. And you clearly you care about your work. And you say in the old fart thing, that's not. Well, there's a reason we wanted to talk to you. It's because you are one of those people that.
I'm flattered. It's. I know that some people will just. I love it when the young comedians come up to me and if they know who I am. A lot of them don't know who I am, of course. They're young. But people that show me respect, it's lovely when you get that respect. And I know it's not my time now. I've never given up. You've got to have a goal, and it's very difficult when you've achieved your goal. my goal was to get my own series and get my own shows. I got it, and then it goes away. Fame is fleeting, and it's not about, I'm not bitter in any sense of the word. I'm frustrated that I didn't achieve. To me, I didn't achieve what I know I could have achieved, and when you lose your goal, it's very difficult to get that back. And I watched Tiger Woods last night. Did you see Tiger Woods? And it was a documentary called Back.
No.
And he hasn't lost it. He's one of the greatest comebacks in the history of sport. And that's what you've got to have. You've got to have that dedication. You've got to work hard, but you've got to have a goal. And if you lose your goal and you don't know your direction, then you're going to be running around like a headless chicken. And I've done that quite a bit over the years.
Do you think now, like you mentioned variety and the sort of performer you are, but do you think it feels like now that there aren't people like yourself on sort of TV and mainstream programs, and I think that's really sad. But do you think that's true? I mean, do you think there's people now that kind of are like, that have that kind of variety background and the sort of can do the range of things that you can do? Do you think they're around now? Because I don't feel like they are, not on mainstream TV anyway.
No, I'll tell you what you don't get. I mean, although you get it on panel shows and a couple of times, you get, there's not the camaraderie. There's not the, it's very much individual now. It's quite I think it's a lonelier business.
Yeah.
Being a comedian now than it ever was, because when I was coming up and doing comedy in theatres and stuff, we'd work with singers, we'd work with dancers, we'd work with jugglers, magicians, special acts, and it was a community and such. Now it's quite a lonely thing. You might work a comedy club, do your 20 minutes. I've always thought that, and this is me being old-fashioned, I always like to see a comedian come out who doesn't turn up in his day clothes. He doesn't just turn up. They bring something which is slightly special. I think that so many comedians now, young comics, just walk out in T-shirts and sneakers and they do their stuff. And I think that my background, I like the glamour of it all. I staged my shows. Well, we didn't do much, obviously, when I came to work with you guys. It was very much, we were restricted. But when you come and see a concert of mine, I've got screens up and videos and lighting cues and sound cues and different things, and audience participation. It's all part of that, and it's a shame that it's not more celebrated, if you know what I mean. I wish they'd appreciate me a little bit more,
Well, that's what we both love that. I mean, we're both from drama school, went to drama school, same drama school, and we're both from an acting background. So we both love the theatricality of that, and like you say, that's the sort of thing that's missing from a lot of stand-up anyway.
For the people who don't appreciate it, they're the people that do, I think. Like with the very fact that we've talked about people like Brucey and Dave Allen, these are all people that, and Les Dawson, that have, and I guess the difference is now younger people can see it because, you've got YouTube, you can see Les Dawson. I love just watching Blankety Blank on Challenge with Les Dawson doing it because it's just
brilliant, isn't he? He was so well, he was such an eloquent man. He was a wordsmith. He'd paint pictures, beautiful pictures, and then tag it with the most dreadful tag, but it said, I was sitting there looking up at, looking up at the stars, and it's scattered like stardust, like glitter on a piece of black velvet. And he said, I sat there in the downstairs outside toilet, and he looked up, seeing the universe and all the lovely stars and like that. And he painted this wonderful picture, and I said to myself, I must get a mucking roof on this shit house. That was the tag. And it's the way he painted it, and I love the way that people paint things. You only have to look. One of the great Dave Allen routines was when he was teaching his kid out to tell the time. It's just fantastic.
But that stuff will have a longevity that a lot of the throwaway stuff won't have now. It's a different thing, and I guess these things come and go. But and also it's like, I think back in the day, like before your time as well, people had to have lots of skills. You had to be able, like there's a good clip I saw recently of Brucey and Norman Wisdom on Saturday Night London played him, and then Brucey suddenly gets out an accordion, and then Norman Wisdom plays the drums, and like just the most exceptional musician. He plays the drums and jazz clarinet. It's
who I worked with in pantomime? I did Milton Keynes and Bristol with him, and that was Mickey Rooney.
Right.
Now Mickey Rooney was the biggest star in the world. And he could play instruments, he could act, he could dance, he could tell jokes, he could sing. And all of a sudden, his life, he married 8 times. I remember coming in singing Frank Sinatra's Fly Me to the Moon. And he went, shut up, up. I said, what's the matter, Mickey? He went, that motherfucking cocksucker, he went off with my wife. What, who did? He went, Frank Sinatra. I said, your wife? Who was your? And he went, Ava Gardner. He was married to Ava Gardner.
Ridiculous.
And it was ridiculous. But you know what? He was a grumpy, horrible old man in a way. But I showed him respect because he was Mickey Rooney. I'm working with Mickey Rooney, one of the greatest. You know what made him grumpy? The fact that he was so old he couldn't do what he used to be able to do anymore. And it used to frustrate him terribly. Yeah. And I remember watching one day in the dressing room, we were watching a film he was in. It was called A Mad, Mad World. And it had Phil Silvers in, Ethel Mormon, Spencer Tracy. It was a very famous film made in the 60s. And it all about chasing treasure. And I was laughing with Billy, my road manager of 33 years. And he could hear us laughing. And he came walking in his underpants. And all stained. And, oh, it was dreadful. His underpants was like the starting grid at Brands Hatch. It was awful. It was, you know, and he used to like chocolate milkshakes. I always used to bring him in and say, thank you very much. He used to call me Buttons. Thank you, Buttons. And he came in. He said, what are you watching there, Buttons? I said, I'm watching you, Mickey. And he looked at the telly, and I kid you not, he was 89 years old. He looked at that television, and he sat down, and the years fell off his face. It was like I was looking at a man in his 40s, 50s. He went, oh, yeah. Now, I'll tell you about this. And I was in tears because this guy there, he'd done it all. And he said, this took us 5 days to film. They had it on a rocking thing, on a cradle. And they did it. He was telling me all these lovely things. Yeah. And it was wonderful to work with a man like that. But he was losing it a bit. And I'll tell a dreadful thing I did. Sometimes he would come on and he'd forget what town he was in. And he'd go, and I always gave him the last word out of respect. You say the last things to say goodnight. Because he's Mickey Rooney.
Mickey Rooney.
Yeah. And he'd go, ladies and gentlemen, it's great to be here in Milton Keynes with my beautiful wife, Jan, entertaining all of you. Good night, God bless you. Thank you very much. And sometimes he'd forget where he was. And he'd turn around and go, it's great to be here in... and he used to turn to me and go, where are we, Buttons? I'd go, Milton Keynes. And he'd go, it's great to be here in Milton Keynes. So he did the speech. And one night, I thought I got the table, and he went, it's great to be here. And he couldn't remember. And he said, where are we, Buttons? I went, Wimbledon. He went, in Wimbledon. We're not in fucking Wimbledon.
Brilliant.
And the audience went,
oh. Had to be done, though. But and that's the thing, isn't it? Because some people are lucky. You get the Dick Van Dykes of the world, who, again, I think is a glorious performer who's utterly underrated. But he can still do it, and he's in his 90s.
Danny Kaye, people like Danny.
Yeah. Wonderful people. And then obviously, it's like the hand you're dealt, isn't it? Because some people just aren't able to keep doing it like that. But I love it that all these people can pass it on. You know, they passed it on to you. You passed it on to us.
I was disappointed that it wasn't. It wasn't the case I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to be just an impressionist. When I talk to Mike, we go out with Mike once every year. He's got a few problems, but he was one of my heroes. I always remember, and we became friends. We went out with John Coleshaw, and so we went out with John, myself, who sort of was before. So it was my Yarwood generation. Then it was Bobby Davro. Then it was John Coleshaw and Danny Posthill, who was a good friend of mine and a wonderful music. And there was 4 mimics there, and we were all sitting around, and the respect that we had for Mike, because he did it. He had that bit. He had stage fright in the end, and he had a bit of a drinking problem. Yeah. And I don't drink a lot now. I don't drink any less, but I don't drink any more. That's the gag. See, I'm forgetting the gag today.
Sorry, we'll edit it. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Someone said, you drink, you've got no willpower. I said, I've given that hundreds of times. So that's an example of how I work my material, the things that I remember. And I went to see a pantomime at the Palladium. I don't know if you've seen any of the Palladium pantomimes.
No, I've heard a lot about them, but no, I haven't seen any.
They've got Julian Clary, who's fantastic.
Yeah.
Sort of Julian thing. I'm slipping into Julian, which wouldn't be the first time. And you go along and see it. It's not really a family pantomime. This
is what I've heard. Yeah, particularly last year's.
And a friend of mine is a guy called Gary Wilmot, who's a wonderful entertainer.
He's great. Yeah, he's great.
Brilliant. And he came out one year and he did the Can, and he did all the train stations, the underground train stations, sets of music at the Can. So it was Austerley and Hounslow Heath and Hounslow West and He went all the way through this thing, and marvellous. I stood up and gave him a standing ovation. It was sensational. So after the show, we were having a drink in the bar, and I said, I've got to tell you, that was one of the greatest things I've ever seen. He said, I bet you wish you'd thought of it. I said, I will do tomorrow. We laughed. So I spent a couple of days, and I said, I was so impressed with that. I said, I'm going to, and I phoned him up. I said, would you mind, Beverly, if it's called modelling. Would you mind if I took the idea with the music? I'll try and find some other music, but I couldn't find a better tune than Can. And I'll do my own version of it. He said, well, as long as you don't just nick that, because it took me months and months to learn. and none of it rhymed. None of it rhymed. So that was what made it so brilliant. So I said, I'll do my own version. So I set to task, but it took me 5 days to write all the countries of the world. I decided there's 196 countries. The two of them aren't accepted because it's a country of Palestine and the Vatican, which I always thought was a city, but it's also a country. Blah, blah, blah. So I wrote this routine. It took me 5 days to write, and then it took me 5 months to learn it. And it took me ages. And what's so wonderful, and I realised that when I'd been off the telly for a while, I went through a dreadful divorce, and I was struggling because I had an act that worked, and I lost interest in my business a little bit, and I had an act that worked, so I could go anywhere and it was all right. And I didn't work at it. I was in a comedy club, which you probably have played, called the Bearcat down in Twickenham.
Right, yeah.
You know that place?
Yes, yeah.
Right. And I was in there watching the football with a mate of mine, and he said, there's a comedy club next door. I said, oh, let's go in the interval. And so I went next door, and lovely man, Graham James, he came out and said, oh, Bobby Davro, do you want to get up and do a bit? I went, no, thank you. They'd hate me. I listened to a couple of comics, and they were all modern comics, alternative comics. And I thought they'd hate me. And he said, go on, get up there in 5 minutes. So I had a couple of drinks. So I stood up and did about 20 minutes. I tore the place apart. Right, yeah. And I came off there, and it changed me. You know what? Right. I realised what I was missing out of my life. And you must have this yourself as performers. I missed the fear. I missed the fear of it not going well. And it's not taking a chance. That you've got to take that chance. You've got to have that fear. And the fear is so exciting. And when you pin it, the reward is fantastic. And when you've got something that really works, don't change it if it works. Don't mend something that ain't broken. And it takes a long time to get things that aren't broken, which are real bankers. And I'm sure you found the same with your stuff. Yeah. Have you?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
But the excitement I had when I went out and did the 192 countries, and as you start it, it's a 3-minute routine, and I couldn't afford to make a mistake. So it'd start very slowly. It'd go Laos, Israel, Seychelles, Sierra Leone, Greece, Maldives, Cyprus, Comoros, Barbados, Belarus, New Zealand, Iceland, Finland, Thailand, Kenya, Ghana, Cuba, China, Afghanistan, Azerbaijan, Uzbekistan, and Pakistan, Kazakhstan, and Kyrgyzstan, Bhutan, Japan, and South Sudan, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Oman, Iran, Iraq, Iran, Jordan, Syria, and Czech Republic, Mozambique. So it went all the way through. And excuse my French, if not that one country, it'd blow it. And it was such a pressure, but when it worked, it's one of the greatest things, and it's one of the most enjoyable bits that I do. It's not funny, but it's
but it's informative about the world.
Yeah, you learn something, don't you? Yeah. Well, with you say obviously I'm answering for you, but you obviously your heart lies with live performance. How is it doing something like EastEnders when you step into something like that, where it's an acting thing for yourself? Then from your background, how did that feel?
I'm glad I did EastEnders. But there's lots of great actors in there. There's fantastic actors in there. Steve McFadden is a big pal of mine. We've remained friends, been friends many years. He's a fantastic actor. And there's so many of them in there that are great actors. And I didn't go in there thinking I went in to learn. And I did learn. I was a bit nervous at first. I didn't act as well as I felt as I could have acted. But I learned an awful lot. But the dilemma was, for me, I made a better living doing corporate work and pantomimes and live shows, and I couldn't really afford, although they paid me okay, they didn't pay me enough money, really, that I could afford not to turn down a pantomime. Because, as you very kindly said, I'm one of the ones that are up there sort of earning the good.
You're one of the biggies.
Yeah.
Because I've done my trade, I've done my things. I'm sort of always in demand when it comes to pantos. But I had to make a decision, and unfortunately the decision I had to make was a financial one, because they couldn't promise me. I said, look, if you give me a good storyline, I'll give up my income as a pantomime performer for 1 year, and they couldn't promise me that, so I had to leave. And it sort of, I didn't get out of it what I really wanted to get out of it. I got enough. Yeah. Then I did a play up in London at the King's Head in Islington, which was for very, very little money, and it was a really big, demanding play. It was a three-headed play, a three-man play called Not a Game for Boys. And it was a big ask of me. And I went out there and I did it. So I had a great director. I had 2 great guys to work with. And Ollie and Anna. And it was one of the greatest things I've done for 20 years. It gave me a belief that I could act. And I should have done a lot more acting. But it's my own fault. I can't say it is a financial thing. I've had to try and make a certain amount of money to keep my life and my children and everything. And so I've probably been I'd like to think I haven't been selfish, but I'm beginning to think I'm 61 years old now. There's lots of things I'd love to do. And I really thought I was going to be like Bruce. I thought, but it changed. The only person that's around now is probably Bradley. Bradley Walsh, a great talent. He's got a great.
But he kind of came back, didn't he? Because he sort of was. I remember seeing him before he'd been on things like The Chase and things more recently. I saw him do like a charity gig, and that I hadn't heard of him for a while at that point. And this was probably early 2000s, and I thought he's amazing. Where's he been all this time? And then he kind of came back.
He's had a fantastic. He did Coronation Street. The part was great for him. And then he got offered The Chase, and it's the best game show. I mean, not taking nothing away from Bradley, but Bradley can sing. Bradley, I go back. Bradley was at my wedding, and Bradley was at my daughter's christening. We were great friends. I don't get to see him an awful lot now, but he was a great comic too. He's a bloody good comic. And so he had the multi thing. So he's probably the only one from my era that apart from Des and Bruce, who sadly are getting too old now. But who is there? I think if I look at the modern ones, people like Michael, he's the new Bruce.
I suppose so, but without the talent.
No, you mustn't say that, because Michael McIntyre, he is a fantastic comedian.
Yeah,
and you know
he is a very good comedian.
It's not about what you like. No. It doesn't matter what you like. And something happened to me on a plane flying out to Portugal, and I was listening about all my friends and people like Alan Brazil and all the old footballers, Alan Brazil and Ray Parks and Peter Shilton and all the old footballers were all going out to do the Bobby Robson thing. And I was messing about, all had a few drinks. I went in the toilet and I did the old visual gag, opening the door, hit my foot and then it's, had my wee, took the toilet paper down the back of my trousers, and I walked down the aisle like this with the toilet paper following me down. And a woman stopped me. She said, that's not funny. I said, I'm sorry. Said, you're not funny. I don't think that's funny. I said, well, my friends are laughing. Yeah, sorry. I said, well, I don't think you're funny. And I said this to her. I said, well, I don't think you're attractive. But it don't mean to say that you've married someone who's got dodgy eyesight that thinks you are. Well, I don't think you are. She said, how rude of you. I said, no, it's not rude, actually. I would never have said that to you unless you I said, I make a living out of being funny. Just because you don't like it, and my friends laughed at it, it's just not your cup of tea. And I said to Alan Brazil, who had this garish yellow shirt, and I said, do you like your shirt, Alan? I said, of course I like that good shirt. I said, that's why they make shirts for people of your taste. I said, it's only your taste. Never be put off by other people's opinions and taste. Okay? It's, the only critic you should care about, fellas, are you. It's all that matters.
Absolutely, yeah.
Now, I went to see Les Mis, 150 quid a ticket, and I hated it. And at the car, I said, I can't sit through another half of this. I'm really not enjoying it. It's awful. Doesn't make it a bad show.
No,
absolutely.
It's a brilliant show.
No.
Just want my cup of tea.
Absolutely.
I was going to say one thing as well, because what's very clear about you is that you love what you do. I mean, you also understand it's practical, it's a job, you need to earn your living. But and you mentioned Michael Barrymore, and he's someone that Glyn and I have worked with and saw us in Edinburgh and has been very, very supportive of us. And he's one of those people, I think, again, who has just adapted, isn't he, Glyn? Because we saw him, he was in a play about Spike Milligan. And I had sort of misgivings. So I just had the assumption he wouldn't be good in it. He was fantastic, and we saw him do it.
I did one of his. He did a sitcom a few years before.
Oh, was it Bob Martin? Was it that?
Yes, it was Bob Martin. I actually was on the show.
Oh, he was right. Yeah. And
he was a good actor. He was such a talent, such a talent. And it was dreadful what happened to him.
Yes,
but I don't really want to go there. He's a friend of mine, and it's these things have happened. It's been well documented. And it was unfortunate for what happened to him, But then again, it was unfortunate what happened to the poor fella. So you got, these things happen. I mean, I remember seeing Stan Boardman. You remember Stan Boardman as a comic?
Yeah.
He was on the Des O'Connor show, and he went, "It's a joke about he's a bit like John Discipino, but John the character." And Stan was before his time. And Stan did this routine about the Fockers. He said, these Fockers were Messerschmitt. And it was a live show going out on the Des O'Connor show on Wednesday at 8. And he got banned off television.
Right, yeah.
But it's mild compared to what goes on now. I despair sometimes about the kind of material that people can get away with now. Let's just say, and I'm not knocking him because he's a very nice man and a very good comedian, it's Jimmy Carr. Now he can get away with doing outrageous material. Right? It could be deemed as extremely bad taste or sexist or whatever, He'll do it because it's only a joke. It's only a joke. And he'd do it. But if I did it, I'd be pilloried and told that I'm out of date. It's because he's contemporary that it's acceptable from him. You know,
Yeah.
it's a bit hypocritical.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. But I mean, again, talking about Michael Barrymore, he a bit like you, so supportive. And I remember, like, he got people to come and see our show in Edinburgh, and we only found out afterwards that he'd said to them, "Oh, go and see those guys." You know, just the most supportive guy, and obviously had a terrible time with the press. There's a question here, actually. I don't know if Glyn, you've had your eye on it.
I just see. Is the Andrew Hall?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yeah. That's actually leads on quite nicely to the next sort of thing we're going to talk about. But it says, did you enjoy taking part in Celebrity Big Brother and Dancing on Ice, and would you ever be interested in another reality TV show now?
Okay, so that's sort of. Hang on, so I'm just trying to find the Coca-Cola. I think that. Okay, so it is all about sort of reality shows now. Going back to Dancing on Ice, my agent phoned up and said, "Have you ever skated?" I went, not in my life. He said, "Well, you've been up with Dancing on Ice. Go and see if you can skate." So off I go down to Guildford's ice rink, and I look at all these old women going around, all these old people, pensioners, and the kids spinning around and jumping up in the air. And I thought, it can't be that fucking difficult, can it? Give me them boots. So I put them on, and I've gone out on the ice, and of course I've fallen flat on the arse. And then I've tried to stand up, and I'm pulling the pensioners and all the kids down, trying to grab hold of anything that went by. And they put a big announcement. They said, "Can the gentleman in the tracksuit please come off the ice?" All right, to come
I
off.
believe you might be Bobby Davro.
Yeah.
I didn't know Bobby Davro. I didn't tell him. And they gave me a penguin. You had to hold
The
on to.
penguins. Yeah.
Can't get a penguin going like this. And I've got terrible feet. I've got a bunion on my left foot. Agony. And I phoned up. My agent phoned up after. Said, "How did you get on?" I was crying. I went, "I can't do this. You're going to kill me." She said, "Well," she said, "there's not much else. They want you to do it. Persevere." So I went, "All right then." So it took me like a month before I could actually get from one side of the rink to the other side. And then when I started to go backwards, it gave me a bit more confidence. But I hated the show, to be honest with you. It wasn't only about the pain that I had to go through. I hated it because of the politics of it as well. Right. They don't treat you, or they didn't on that show particularly, with any respect. They expected you you were just part of the show. It didn't matter. It was all about the show. It wasn't about the performance. Right. And it's a bit the same with Big Brother. I was very lucky to be asked to do that. I think they put me in there because it was quite well documented that I've been through a bit of an emotional time with my divorce. Let's get in there. Let's try and get him to cry. Let's see the comedian, the sad clown. And I wasn't in that place. I was in a great place at that time. And it didn't apply to me. I mean, and obviously, you went in there and they paid me a fare. It was lovely, and that's what I did with it. But it's not what I want to do. I want to be a performer. I don't want to wood stain a floor, bake a cake, or dig your garden up, you know? I can't dance, I can't cook, I can't skate, I ain't got a gun, I've got fuck all in the attic. I stand no chance. And now we're watching these shows, and I despair sometimes that Britain's Got Talent and things like that. We've got to have some sort of sob story, you know. My granddad's got a prolapsed arse or something, and my auntie's got emphysema.
Oh, you've met him?
Right. Yeah. And it's very sad that it's about the show, and it's not about talent. Yeah. You know, and I don't want really. I'm very grateful that I'm still asked to do shows like celebrity camping and celebrity cooking and things like that, because that keeps me on the screen, I guess, from time to time. I'd give anything to be able to go on there and perform again. I miss it. When we did shows like Live at Her Majesty's and things like live shows going on there, and that was where my big break came from. Jimmy Tarbuck introduced me to one of these Live at Her Majesty's shows, and I came out like, I did Freddie Starr's an impression, and I did Cliff. Then I sat at the piano and sung songs with different people, as Elton, Sedaka and Gilbert, and people like Billy Joel and stuff, Stevie Wonder and all that. And it was and I stole the show that night. And it was that night that my career sort of started proper. And I miss that performing. I don't really want to go on there and sell things from the back of my from my attic or the back of my car boot, or cook things, because I'm no good at it. I'm no good at that. I'm good at what I do for a living. I just wish I could get back on doing that. But I'm not bitter, because I had a really, really good go.
And I suppose that it may be a small thing to make it more positive, but you still did it. You still did those things, and that's a hell of a thing. And you are still performing and finding new things to do, new ideas. You clearly care about what you're doing.
An hour a day.
Yeah.
An hour a day. And that's it.
We've got a couple of questions coming up, actually. We should share. I'll go with this one. Stephanie W says, have you thought about writing a book of your career? I mean, because you've got so many stories.
Yeah.
I've just finished my latest book. Well, I've got 2 more pages to colour in. I've just read a great book. Katie, what's her name? Who's Jordan?
Katie Price.
Katie Price.
Yes.
All the Men I Haven't Shagged. Well, I say it's a book, it's more of a leaflet. We're sticking a couple of those guys. I think that it would have paid. I've actually written a play. That's what I've done in the last 10 weeks.
Right.
I wrote a play for me and Les Dennis.
I saw about this. I saw it on Twitter, I think. Yeah.
Did you see this? And it was. I was really proud of it. It was difficult for me because I had to put myself up as a bit un-PC, which to make the play work.
Right.
And actually, he was right in many ways. He said that you're asking for trouble there because they can look at that and think that that's what you really are. Well, I'm not. But to make the play work, it had to include it. So I've got to rewrite some of it. Yeah. It was lovely to write a play, and I'm very proud of being able to finish it. I started it about 4 years ago and stopped doing it, and then finished it off these last few weeks. So I've made the most of it. I've watched a lot of the old black and white movies as well, as I like to call it, interracial porn, and and it's difficult. You can't get any laughs on this thing.
I laughed. Despite myself. A question from Neelam. What's the connection with the name Davro? Because it's obviously a station.
My real name is Robert. Yeah. Robert Nankiville. Yeah. Now, my father, that's Nankeville. My father was a very famous athlete back in the 1948, 52. He was in 2 Olympics. And I want to be just like him and win the gold medal. And he wanted to win it too, become 6th. So he was a famous athlete, and he ran with Bannister and Chataway and stuff, and did 2 Olympics.
I saw it. It's incredible. Yeah.
So the Davro bit, I mentioned my dad's business. My brother's called David, and I'm called Robert. And so when my dad created his business, we used the Dav of David and the RO of Robert and called it Davro discount stores. And I couldn't think of a better name. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I used. Right. I don't particularly like the name. I would have maybe chosen something, but I'm stuck with it now. Really.
It's a lovely backstory, though.
Yeah.
But do you think the fact that your dad, being an Olympic athlete, being involved in that, heading up to the 4-minute mile thing, wasn't his best time like 4 minutes 8 or something, which is crazy?
I think it's 4:06 actually.
But do you having him do that, did that sort of give you the sense that you could do anything you wanted, that it was possible? You know.
Now you're treading on something that's a bit sensitive to me, because my brother. With David, my brother was a very good golfer. He became an international youth player. He used to play in the English international things with people like Sandy Lyle and Chubby Chandler, who went on to management and stuff like that. And quite a lot of the old sort of players, maybe I'm trying to think of the names. Well, anyway, Sandy Lyle springs to mind. Yeah. They were youngsters, you know. And my dad, being a sportsman, supported my father. I'm going to tell you something quite strange. You know, I did a show a couple of years ago called In Therapy.
Yeah.
And they had me on there, and they implied that I was an alcoholic. I'm certainly not an alcoholic. I know someone very close to me is an alcoholic. I'm not an alcoholic. Yeah. But I drink too many units. I'm sure. I don't know if you drink at all, but I'm probably drinking even more now because of this.
I think everyone is. A lot of people are.
I'm certainly not an alcoholic. And we went on the show, and the therapist touched on something, and I have a place. They said, "What's your favourite place?" And it was Wentworth Golf Club. We were members at Wentworth for a long time, and my dad used to drop me off at a pond on the short course, and he used to drive off with my brother to play golf. And then when they finished golf, he'd come back, pick me up, and take me home. Now that pond represented something so wonderful to me, and I could never figure out what it was until I did this therapy show. Right. Then I realised, this is coming out from sort of what you just said. My dad, being a sportsman, loved doing the sport with my brother. And my dad, I felt a sense of rejection and abandonment because I always remembered, and I'd forgotten about this. He drove off, and I used to think, God, Dad, I wish he'd stay with me and come fishing instead of going golfing with Dad, with my brother. And he didn't do that. And I felt for, it was only a couple of years, 3 years maybe. And I always used to feel a bit abandoned, which is ridiculous because my dad has been my hero. I love my father, and he's still about 95. He can still touch his toes with his testicles. So, keep it like. So anyway, and I never realised why it was my favourite place. But what had happened was when he used to leave me there, and I used to catch fish, which I still do. I love going fishing. It actually brought me so much pleasure, and it replaced the pain of him leaving me. And I never realised that until they talked about it in therapy. And it was something that was a wonderful eye-opener. It made me very tearful at the time. And they sort of pinned the editing on that. Again, it's a bit biased. They edited it so it looked like I was a sad alcoholic.
Right, yeah.
I wasn't tearful about me being a drinker. I was tearful about the things that had happened in my life.
Yeah.
And that's what can happen with television. I think it's happening very much in the media now. We can be very biased. And I don't want to get into politics. Because you asked me before we started about the Admiral of Bremont. I'm not a political impressionist. And I do one gag, which I've done for every impression I've done. I've done John Major, Tony Blair. So John Major would speak very much like that. It used to be Jules Holland, basically. Jules Holland would come this side of the studio and to hear
the necklace wonder. Yeah.
And then I slowed it down, and it just became John Major, basically. It was a lot slower, pair of glasses. John Major. And then I'd start, I started to Tony Blair, blah, 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 up Tony. And then I use it now for my Donald Trump impression. And it's this gag. And I'll do the gag. I've got a hat here. She took the trouble. I won't put the mask. I do use a mask. I'll use a mask, but I won't do it. It's a bit
incredible.
We've all got a Donald Trump mask just out of shot, just in case.
Do you like the mask? I can use the mask. I can use the hat. I'll use the hat.
It's a little bit Michael Myers. It's a little bit Halloween.
It's a bit scary. Yeah.
In my mind, it's what happens when you drink too much of that bleach. It makes you better.
Oh God.
I use this hat. And then you could do Donald Trump. This is the joke, It's Donald J. Trump. Donald J. What does the J stand for? Genius. If we were an empire, this is the gag I used to do as John Major, as Tony Blair. And it's the same gag. And I've been doing it for so many years. And it's this. Folks, if we were an empire, I'd be an emperor. If we were a kingdom, I'd be a king. But we're just a country.
Do you know that might actually be the end point of the interview? I think that's
brilliant. That's a good
really? There must be some questions. Come on, give me some questions.
Let's see what else we got. I have to say that this is absolutely lovely to be able to spend this time with you doing this. It really, really is. I'll just have a look and see what else we've got.
You're good fellas. And you know what I love about you?
What's that?
Is that I could see the determination, and I see, and please don't think I'm being condescending in any way. No. You're striving to get something which is original. You keep doing that. Keep finding something that other people that don't do. I say do your own stuff. I mean, I'm guilty of telling jokes that other comedians tell, more from my generation. But to find something original, and if it is original, it doesn't always have to be the funniest, it doesn't always have to be the very best. But if it's original, the audience will find you, and you just keep battling away and finding something which people go, well, that's Doggett and Ephgrave, or Ephgrave and Doggett. I never know which is the billing.
Well, it changes as according to.
No, it's Doggett. I'm just going to say them all. Yeah.
Maybe it should be an age thing.
Well, then it should be Ephgrave and Doggett. Then.
Hang on a minute.
Alphabetically, ED.
Someone here.
I'll tell you something. And this is kind of talk about alphabet. I did another thing back in the late 80s, and it was the alphabet of impressions. Now that was in 1987. Now if I'm going to praise myself, it was a way of doing impressions of 26 or impressions done to the alphabet, and I'm going to do a little bit for it.
Yeah.
But other people have had the idea now, so a lot of took it up, and I think I was the first. So the impressions alphabet, and I had to modernise it. So this is I'm trying to remember it. I only use it usually if I'm doing radio interviews, which is like this. So it's the alphabet of impressions. So Alpha Army, Alan Carr, Chatty Man. And beers for Boris, or Canadian Joe Brown. Sue's Billy Connolly, or Captain Jack Sparrow. And what's going to E? E's Dame Edna Everett, or the boxer, Chris Eubank. Oh, I've forgotten that. Hang on, I've gone out of tick six.
I'm still enjoying it
now.
Yeah.
D is for Dilboy, or David Attenborough. E's Dame Edna Everett, or the boxer, Chris Eubank. F. Forrest Gump, or the boxer, Bruno's Frank. I'll get there in a minute. G is Bob Geldof, he's Selden Don, and H. Harry Hill. Oh, Homer Simpson. Ooh. And I is Eddie Izzard, Dresser who's cross. And J is John Biffy or Jonathan Ross. Kermit is next, that begins with a K, and L. Lou Spence, Dancing It's Gay. M's Michael McIntyre, or Buddy McGuinness. And N is Graham Norton, who likes taking the piss. There's O's Ozzy Osbourne, or Paul O'Grady. And P is Prince Charles, or Joseph Spurley. And Q is the Queen, which is a bit of a goer. And R is Robin Williams, or Rocky Balboa. And S Stella Milligan, or Alan Sugar, you're fired. D is Chris Tarrant. And what's the other bit? D is Chris Tarrant. hang on, I'll get it. Or Tony Blair, PM now retired. A big yardstick. You, it is a dreadful one. You shot with Albert. I know that's not shit. And means Victor Melder, I don't believe it. W is Kenneth Williams, very carry on actor. And W, and X, Simon Cowell, the star of X Factor. And then Y is for Yoda. Near the end we have got. And Z is for Zippy. That's the end of this part. Did you struggle a bit there? I struggled.
No, it's still great. It's still so good.
And what I'm saying is to you guys is to find a way of doing comedy which hasn't been done. And it's so wonderful to see refreshing things.
Well, I have to say, and I've said this to you, I think, before, but you did something very good for me personally. That when you came to Mostly a couple of years ago, and I was doing a preview that night for my new Edinburgh show, and you phoned up during the day just to sort of check some tech stuff, and you asked how I was doing. I said, and I was quite sort of nervous. It was about depression as well. So I was the first time I was talking publicly about that. I said, I'm not really sure. And he said, no, it's the best thing. We're going to try something new. We're going to do a new thing tonight. It's exciting. And just that little thought made me go, yeah, no, you're right. That, and it was just a little personal thing you said, and I thought, and that gave me a little bit of fire that made it work. And this is so, and again, so just want to say thank you for that, really. Well,
laughter, they say, isn't it? They say laughter is the best medicine. Unless you got COVID-19, and then you find that the vaccine coming on. That's
exactly. Yeah. We've had some.
You just got to keep safe and keep working at it and keep believing. And one of the things I've said, which is really relevant, don't let people say and destroy you by criticism, because actually it mustn't, because it's only their taste.
Yeah.
Okay. It doesn't mean to say they're right. The only people that count that criticise that you should listen to are yourselves.
Absolutely,
and not reviewers, I think, is definitely one of the things.
Yeah, definitely.
Because again, they're just people who have a certain amount of taste, and a lot of them are going with the easy option of, oh well, we can't really like them.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be such and such. So you just do what you want to do.
Absolutely.
We've got some lovely praise just generally about you. Pete Haynes says, I could listen to Bobby talk all night. Andrew Hall said, this has been another great night. Bobby has been great to listen to. I love the country song to the can-can. So, and also somebody else said their love of Dave Allen as well. So,
Mauritius, Panama, Qatar, the UAE, Solomon Islands, Equatorial Guinea, Kiribati, and Ukraine, St. Lucia, Samoa, Spain, Vanuatu, and Tuvalu, St. Kitts, Nevis, Dominican Republic, Antigua, Kuwait, Bermuda, Myanmar, Scotland, Ireland, Wales, and England.
Then the flag comes in.
Fantastic.
Bobby, it's so lovely to be able to spend the evening with you. Thanks for bringing us into your house and talking to us. And we could talk to you forever. We'll talk to you again, hopefully, as well. We'll do another one of these sometime.
But I'd love to. Yeah.
I'd love to. And thank you for all those. I hope I haven't blabbed away too long.
It's brilliant. It's been lovely. Thank you so much.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. You take care, Bobby, and we'll see you soon, hopefully. But thank you so much.
I hope so. Keep safe, everybody.
Thanks very much.
You, Bobby.
So there we go. That was Bobby Davro.
Bloody was and all.
It was good,
Bloody
wasn't it?
was. It was good. It was really good. It was. All of these interviews have been insightful, I think.
Yeah.
But it was just nice. I don't know. There was a moment in it when we were doing it, and I was watching the questions coming in and stuff, and I was thinking about from the perspective of the people listening to it. And I think it's kind of a bit of a privilege, because you don't expect to be in a situation where you're sort of having a private audience with someone like Bobby, with his sort of background, his stories, his abilities, his entertainment. He's an entertaining person, and like we said on a previous episode, we wouldn't have been so fortunate to do this if it hadn't been for the difficult circumstances we're in. We might have done an interview with him, wouldn't have been quite the same. It was a bit more special, and so it is. You have to take the positives out of these situations, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you do. Yeah, it's that, and that's it. It was really nice. I just want to clarify. There was one thing that we talked about, and I briefly mentioned Michael McIntyre.
Is this about because I was going to sell this to the Comet, the local paper? I was
my
Glyn Doggett in McIntyre hatred shocker. I thought, brilliant. This is my way.
But just to clarify my point, and I think the trouble is when you're in an interview situation like that, you say one thing
terrible.
and then it kind of
leads
to the next point.
You think he's really not funny.
But I have to say, if I'm 100%
really
honest,
don't like
I actually, he's the sort of person. I don't watch a lot of the stuff he's done, but you quite often on things that come up on Facebook, bits of his material,
you despise
and
him,
I always
despise him.
No, I do genuinely, and it's
I've seen the look in your eye.
It's hard to sound sincere, but I do really love his material. I do think he's a great. His material is great, and I do think his performance is great, and I do think he is very funny and appeals to such a wide range of people, and his stories are very relatable. What I wanted to clarify was that what I don't think he is, and what I think Bobby Davro is, and some of those people like Bradley Walsh and Brian Connolly, he's not a variety act. He's not someone who has the appeal and has the sort of presence to run the sort of show that he's running on TV. So he's a great stand-up and he does his material well. But when you put him in the environment of the show that he's the show that the Michael McIntyre show, whatever it's called, the thing that he does on TV, big show, he's doing what I think any of those people like Bobby Davro would have done really well, but not as well because he's not got the skill set to do all of what makes that show great. So he can do the stand up and he can do some comedy stuff, but he's not everything. He's not for everything else. So yeah, what I'm saying is he's a great stand up. He's not a variety act, as we were talking about at the time, and that's where the context.
So you're saying you don't like him, Glyn?
Because I'm going back from it. Is the thing is
what you can't see is Glyn surrounded by a bank of lawyers, and they're all.
The thing is, as well, is no one will listen to this bit, so it'll just be me. So everyone will just think that I just hate Michael McIntyre, which, to be honest, I don't. I actually think he's quite funny, and I do quite like him. So there we go.
Whereas I hate him. So that was the Bobby Davro episode.
It was.
We had a lot of fun, and also, I do, without making this episode more about Michael McIntyre than Bobby Davro, I do, and I'm going to do a timer afterwards. I'm going to see how much we talked, how much was coming down from this sort of like political situation of getting out of the McIntyre situation.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the skills that we're talking about, they're not easily learned, and people like someone like Davro, but then all the people like we're talking about, Brucey, these sort of people, they learn in a different way. They learnt their trade in a very different way to how people do now. And I think that's what Bobby Davro was saying. So someone like Michael McIntyre, it'd kind of be a miracle if he was that good at the whole light entertainment thing, because he didn't learn in the same way. He didn't have to do the same. He didn't play the windmill theatre like all the people used to play back in the day, or even like Bobby Davro was talking about the sort of the stag night thing. And also some performers have that, some don't. I wouldn't be able to do it. You would, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
wow. It's very kind of you to say that.
It'd be funny if, as I said, I wouldn't be able to do it. You said at exactly the same time. You wouldn't have been able to do it. But I mean, so that's a very, very different thing. And also, Michael McIntyre's got lovely hair. Chubby Pierce Brosnan. That's what I always think.
True. Good description.
Good. I think that's his who's who, if that still exists. I often use that joke. I need to upgrade that to Wikipedia or something. Who's who? It hasn't existed since the it used to be like a series of books, like an encyclopedia, A to Z, of people who were. That's what that was. I
don't even know what that was.
So every time I said that, you've gone, what?
Oh no, I have heard. No, I have heard of it. I don't know. I'm thinking, my brain is thinking Guess Who at the moment, and I'm thinking that's not relevant. So I don't know why. I'm very tired.
It's not a book about the band The Who, and the members are. Who's who? Well, it's Roger Daltrey, Pete Entwistle, and anyway, Pete Townsend. I got it wrong. Anyway. We had a lot of fun. Most of it was trying to get out of a crisis that Glyn was concerned about with Michael McIntyre and the hatred, which, I mean, actually from that point in the interview, you stopped saying so much. You looked very worried. You were sweating.
This is it. I was.
And I was just thinking, this is fucking brilliant. I'm going to sell this to everyone I can find. Doggett hates McIntyre.
I just hope McIntyre never listens to the interview. That's my worry. Then he'll never talk to me again. Not that he's ever spoken to me ever before. No, so
and probably never will. So I think you're safe. Really. Yeah, it's right. And you covered it perfectly. We all know that you hate him. So thank you for listening to this episode. It's been a fun one.
It has. Yes.
As we always say, there are plenty of others to listen to. More Than Mostly Comedy podcast. To keep an eye out for those.
Yep.
And follow us on all the various different podcasting sites where you find those things.
They're everywhere.
Everywhere. It's quite sinister.
Yeah.
And we'll be back very soon with another one. So you're released now. This is your own time. Do your own thing. Listen to it again if you want.
Why not?
Yeah, and definitely grab just the bit where Glyn says the thing about McIntyre. Grab the whole sort of debrief from it. Put it up separately on YouTube somewhere. Just see what happens. I'm going to be doing that.
Please don't.
It really was not a serious thing you said. You've said worse.
True, that's true. Yeah.
And I certainly have. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
We'll see you again next time. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.